Hey everybody, Keith Dotson here, and in this video I'll be demonstrating how I create and process a photograph from the location to the development on the computer to the final print. Now I specialize in black and white photography, so that's what I'll be creating in this video. And the first step for me is great light and atmosphere like you see here today. Now most photographers wouldn't see this as perfect light, but to me these are the conditions I absolutely love for shooting my best work. I often shoot in sunlight as well, but to me the results are always better when the light is soft, and having a moody atmosphere is a bonus. Here we are at our location. This is a place discovered by accident on our way to another destination. That's how we often find our locations. I have several cameras, but for this shot I used a Fujifilm GFX 100S with a 35-70 lens. Just look at this place, what a gem. We drove down the road and turned around to see what it looked like from the opposite side. Right here, this view framed by the arc of the tree would have been really excellent, but I didn't see it until editing this video. Darn, I hate a missed opportunity. I enjoy learning the history of places, but this sign doesn't really apply to our old house. Okay y'all, now we'll look at the raw file on the computer. I use a Mac and have a BenQ monitor, which I can see here needs a good cleaning. I'll start in Adobe Camera Raw. I'm not really a Lightroom user. As you can see, the raw file is pretty dark. After all, we shot it on a dark and gloomy day. So the first step is to brighten it up. I generally start with the auto button and then adjust from there. Since I don't use a tilt-shift lens, I often need to straighten the verticals. It's important for a finished look, unless the building is actually leaning or something like that, which abandoned buildings often are. Then I begin by using the sliders to adjust the contrast and brightness, especially in the midtones. This is important in making sure the final image isn't dull and lifeless or too gray in the midtones. In this case, I opened up the shadows, adjusted the contrast, and slightly increased the overall brightness. I also lifted the luminosity in the greens and yellows so that the grass would convert to black and white in the way that I want them to, and that comes from experience of knowing what I like. My final step in the raw file is one most people can skip. Since I want to be prepared in the future to make very large prints, I use the Enhance Super Resolution function in Camera Raw to double the resolution, and therefore the effective print size. Since I'm using a 100 megapixel file to begin with, as you can imagine, it results in a massive file. I can easily print this at 60 by 80 inches. And believe it or not, I occasionally, maybe 2 or 3 times a year, I'll get clients who want prints even larger than that. The adjusted raw file opens into Photoshop. I know a lot of photographers have heartburn with Adobe, and I can understand it, but I've been using Photoshop since it was version 2.0, I think in 1992 or something like that, so it's the software I'm most comfortable with. With the color file open, I'll save it as a TIFF file onto a backup drive, and then review it carefully for anything that might need editing. I also look for problematic things that I may not have seen on location. Once the file is reviewed to my satisfaction, I close Photoshop and open the file directly into Nik Silver Effects by DxO, or one of the other black and white converters that I sometimes use. As you can see, it opens as a neutral grayscale image. In Nik, there are a series of presets along the left-hand column, and on the right side, quite a few adjustments that can be made to contrast, the way colors are rendered in gray tones, grain control, etc. I almost never use the straight neutral conversion. This is where we give our final photograph the punch it needs to be really powerful and to convey the mood of the day and the sense of abandonment and loneliness. I usually test various presets to see how they'll look. I also have a list of my own presets that I've created and saved. Then I begin by making other adjustments. It's very easy to take these adjustments too far and make it look fake or overbaked. It's all a matter of taste, of course. There, I think that looks pretty good. Okay, y'all, here's the final edited TIFF file dropped right into the video editing software. For our sample print, I picked the Hahnemühle Photorag Breite at 13 by 19 inches. Okay, I've dropped the photograph into my printing rip called Image Print Black from ColorByte. No matter what software you use to print, you still need to set most of these same parameters. I already set up the software's printer profile to match Hahnemühle Photorag Breite. And I set the page size to 13 by 19 for our sheet size. There are a lot of page size presets, but you can also put in custom sizes if you need to. Next, I set the print size to 12 by 16. Remember the GFX100S is a 4/3 sensor, so it's not going to print 12 by 18 like a full frame sensor would. Then I let it snap to the center of the page. And I turned off the crop marks function, which was still activated from my previous print job. After a final review of my settings, I hit the print button and the printer goes to work. Okay, y'all, there's our test print. 12 by 16 inches on Hahnemühle Photorag Breite. I'll reiterate again, it's really up to every photographer to decide how to process their images, but to me, a gray or flat photograph with low contrast and midtones that are too dark just really don't work. Well, I hope you find this video helpful or at least interesting in some way. Thanks for watching. You can see more of my work on my website at keithdotson.com.